This episode is brought to you today by Central Bank of Lake of the Ozarks. Strong roots, endless possibilities. Hey, Lake listeners. Thank you for coming back for more of the Grow, Thrive, Inspire podcast. A big shout out to Central Bank Lake of the Ozarks for sponsoring today's episode and guest. Today on the show, our guest is someone who I have personally met and got inspiration from at several of our regional conferences, who won the 2016 Rookie of the Year Award in his first year, and now is a part of the Platinum Club. He has been voted one of Tulsa's People's top 100 real estate professionals in his market, my friend, and a mentor to so many, Mr. James Wood. James, how awesome is this?
Hey, thank you so much for having me. This is super cool. I'm really excited to be here.
Man, you just gave an awesome presentation here, and we could not be more thankful to that. And I'm glad that you agreed to come on to the show. I've been a big fan of yours since I saw you first speak at one of our regional conferences a couple years ago. You brought so much enthusiasm and inspiration to the table for so many agents. But can we take it back just for a minute for our listeners and have you kind of start by just telling us your history and how you ended up in real estate?
Absolutely. I got fired. That's how I ended up here.
Oh, goodness.
So I was actually working in the Christian music industry. I'm not going to sing. I'm not a performer, but I was behind the scenes. I was an event coordinator, kind of the marketing guru. I did all the ticketing and sales and, just all that kind of stuff behind the scenes for big tours and festivals and conferences. It was an absolute blast, but the truth to be told, it might be a shock to you. There's no money in Christian music industry. Okay. So, as that was coming to an end because, again, just got fired out of the blue. It just very unexpected. It came to an end. It's like, wow, didn't see that coming. So there I am trying to figure out what's the next thing for James. What am I supposed to be doing with my life? And oddly enough, my parents were looking for a house. I had never once in 27 years considered being a realtor. That was never even like a profession I thought about. Mm-hmm. And so anyways, my parents are looking for a house, met their realtor, oddly enough. At this point, we're now in Tulsa. Okay. I just moved to Tulsa, and she was also from Fort Smith, Arkansas, where I was from. Oh. She was 1 year older than me. We went to the same high school. We didn't really know each other though. And she was driving a Porsche. So I was like, I think I could do this. And I really don't want to be confined to a room all day. I don't want an 8 to 5. That's not who I am. That's not my personality. I want something. I've always been a big fan of Shark Tank. Okay. I've always wanted to own my own business. My aunt owns a bunch of restaurants, and it's a franchise sandwich place, and she owns them. And I talked to her, maybe I'd open up my own, restaurants. And again, just the capital it takes to get there, that just wasn't for me. And at the end of the day, I don't just eat, breathe, and sleep sandwiches, right? That's not my thing. So anyways, my parents are looking for a house. They're a realtor from where I'm from. I think I could do this. And that was the light bulb moment. That was the moment of, I really think I could do this. So I went and took my test and luckily passed my first time. And within just a few months, I had my real estate license and I was off to the races.
Wow, that's incredible. I love the fact that you wanted to be a business owner. And so you kind of had that thought in your mind already before you went and transitioned to real estate. I wanted to kind of touch on, that first year for you too. Like I had said, you had won that Rookie of the Year award. And when you took off in real estate, like you just mentioned, kind of what did you do that first year to just give you that recognition?
Yeah. So definitely one thing I think separates me from some real estate agents is I treat it like it's a business. Mm-hmm. I don't get in and simply earn a commission to spend the commission. I actually reinvested back into my business. So keep in mind, I moved to Tulsa. I'm not from there. I don't have a deep sphere of influence or circle of influence. I really just knew my mom. And there's only so many houses you can sell your mother before she's like, you got to get out and make some friends, James. So you've got to get some other clients. And so I really just decided, okay, open houses, that's an inexpensive way to gain a potential client or leads. So I started working 4 open houses, and I did it every single weekend. I only really took off the holiday weekends, 4th of July, Labor Day, things like that. Mm-hmm. So I did 4 every weekend, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. And then I got a great mentor, and she was slightly overwhelmed, maybe even at the time, with some of her business opportunities. And she had additional sign calls and online leads that were coming in that she really wasn't taking care of. And she admitted she needed somebody. And what can I do? Let me, I'm available. I have time on my hands and I want to do this. So we worked out a deal, and I started calling those leads, and I started converting. And I realized very quickly, I can talk on the phone. Yeah. I can convert, and I can connect with people. And so I just started working the phones pretty much every evening, at least I would say 4 nights a week. I was probably in an office for 2 to 3 hours every evening calling those leads. Some of them were 3 and 4 and 6 months old. Doesn't matter. Maybe they didn't buy a house yet. Maybe they didn't yet make a transaction, do the real estate transaction. So I'm just trying to engage in conversations, because I believe conversations lead to conversions. Mm-hmm. It's one of the things I preached on today. And, so anyways, just the open houses, the online leads, and again, treating it like my own business. I very quickly realized I could talk on the phone. Why pay this hefty referral fee to this other agent? So the whole back to being a business owner, I started reinvesting in my own business, and I started at $240 a month with an online lead site, buying my own leads, converting them, and then I continued to increase it because it was working. And, something I say all the time is that online leads isn't necessarily meant to be forever, but it was a shot in the arm. It was what got me going.
Kickstarted you, essentially.
Yeah, that's such a great way to say it.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I love how you stated that you wanted to treat it like a business, which I think is so important. And a lot of people who get into real estate don't realize that initially, so that's really great that you had that in your back pocket before you even really started. You had stated that you wanted to always kind of stand out from the crowd. Again, you have lots of enthusiasm. Where did your ideas come from that led you to kind of think outside the box or give kind of that ultimate fan experience that you talked about?
So a lot of these ideas have truly just been, they've been birthed out of experience. I mean, it's just doing it and realizing I think I can do it better. I have always been one that if I'm going to do something, I'm not going to do it halfway. I'm not okay with being mediocre. Mm-hmm. Anything I touch, any project I do, I want to know it was completely the best possible, way. So for me, that really became my anthem. Mm-hmm. And that was something that I saw other realtors that maybe I felt like they were not treating it like a business and really putting their everything into it. And I know that I can. And so I want clients to walk away after a transaction with me, and I want them to be very impressed. Mm-hmm. I want them to be a raving fan, become a friend, to love me, to share my name and phone number with everyone they know, and basically be my cheerleader. Mm-hmm.
No, and I think that that's great too, wanting to take every experience that you had with clients and then make it better, branch it up, level it up somehow, some way, and, reflecting is a part of it too, and being able to look back what worked, what didn't work, tailor it to go forward. That's awesome, especially in the short amount of time that you did that in. It also leads me kind of to my next question. You branded yourself with, in my opinion, one of the funniest and coolest brands, but can you elaborate on, the best agent ever brand that you created?
So that actually all started with a t-shirt. Really? From Amazon. I was bored one night and I was searching Amazon for realtor or real estate agent, paraphernalia, right? I don't know, just different pieces. And I came across a t-shirt that said best realtor ever. So I bought it. And then I started, of course, wearing it. And around the office, it became the nickname. I mean, I can remember Shannon, another realtor in my office, catching me in the hall and saying, hey, there's best realtor ever. And it just continued and continued. Now, of course, in real estate, you can't use an adjective with the word realtor. So I tried. I did get the cease and desist letter. And so anyways, they shut that down. So you can't do an adjective with the word realtor. So best realtor wouldn't be allowed. So, that's how everything kind of morphed over into the best agent ever. And I'm so thankful that someone on my team texted me one night late and said bestrealtorever.com was available. Oh. And I like fumbled to the laptop of, oh my gosh, I'm going to go buy it. And then of course I bought Best Agent Ever. And so now it's just become the brand. By no way do I think I am the best. Listen to me. I'm all that. It could give that, that perception to people that don't know me, but absolutely not. I'm always happy to learn and learn from others. But I do want, with my clients, to be seen in their eyes as the best.
Absolutely, and give that best experience.
That's right.
Yeah, comes full circle. And I've noticed, too, that since you've progressed even to today, that you've kind of transitioned it with some of your coaching, and now it's Best Coach Ever,
yes.
Which I also love. So, speaking of coaching, let's fast forward a little bit. Can you touch on how you got the opportunity to speak at our regional conferences? What were your emotions the first time? What were some things that you took away from that? I mean, I'll never forget the first time I saw you. It was incredible.
Oh my gosh. And that means the world to me, because what you don't know is you're talking about Kansas City, correct? Mm-hmm. In 2018.
Yeah.
Yes. That was my very first time to do public speaking. Mm-hmm. I was nervous as could be. I couldn't eat that morning. The evening before we did like a mic check or whatever, and I got to see the room. Mm-hmm. And this is a big room. I go to a lot of real estate conventions and speak at a handful of offices, and there's a lot of times there's 20, 30, 50 people. Great crowd. That's awesome. This was a room of 500. It was massive. And so it was very, very, very unnerving, I guess. But I also knew I really am my personality. Like, I like being the center of attention to some degree when it's in a positive way. I don't want to necessarily be the butt of the joke, but I like being the guy that people want to hang out with or ask questions to or just have good conversation with. So I was really looking forward to it. But yeah, if I'm honest, I was absolutely nervous. But the way that came about was my broker owners in Owasso in Tulsa. They just saw something in me. They had me speak at our own little office, in front of, 20, 30 realtors, and they felt like there was something there. Mm-hmm. And so they were really encouraging those at the regional level to bring me on. And I was so excited when I got that phone call. Absolutely. I poured hours and hours and hours into preparation for that event. I did not want to take that opportunity and it not be the best. Right? Best agent ever, best speaker ever, whatever I'm doing, I can't just do it okay. I wanted to make sure that people left wowed and impressed. And so just you saying that means the world to me, because you have no idea how nervous I was that day.
Oh, it was awesome. And then you did it again, that next year, and came back and you were there, and I saw you, and we were kind of watching some of the presentations that the other speakers were doing. And I'll never forget, I ran into you and I told you that story about that first bomb that you sent me when we brought you here to the movie theater to train. And I was like, I felt like I was talking to a superstar when I got that bomb and the name was on it, and it was so cool. I actually think I still have it.
Oh, that's cool.
You were speaking about your brokers, and I think it's so amazing that you instantly had support, great leadership, and leaders that were willing to support you taking your business to a next level. Fast forwarding today, you've now formed a team with 2 other top producers, you'd said. What does that look like now compared to kind of when you first started your business?
Yeah, so obviously when you first start the business, you're nobody, right? You are at the ground level. I didn't get into this business with, say, a relative or a parent maybe who was already in it, and I could kind of pick their brain and kind of come up behind, in their coattails or shadows or whatever. I moved here to Tulsa knowing literally two people. So for me, it was a ground up. I got to figure out how to build this business. And luckily I found a great mentor who poured into me. Like you mentioned, I've always had some of the best brokers in the business. Love them. It's been great. So yes, the mentor that I've mentioned and another top producing agent, as well as myself, we kind of got together and we kept realizing in this industry, so many realtors, they go get their license and 3 weeks later, they're allowed to sell property with zero mentorship. Mm-hmm. That is scary. I truly think from a brokerage perspective, what a liability. It's like a ticking time bomb. I mean, they are going to help people sell and buy the most expensive asset that they own, and yet they've been licensed for 3 or 4 weeks. They have no experience. They barely know how to fill out the dadgum contract.
It actually makes me think of that HVAC story that you were talking about today in your training. I can see, though, that it could be a liability.
And so basically a quick, side note, the story there is one of my first open houses. I had somebody walk in and ask me a question about the HVAC, and I looked him dead in the eyes and this house doesn't have an HVAC. And he looked at me like I was a green alien from outer space, okay? And no, sir, every house since the 60s or something like that, has had an HVAC. And I didn't back down. I looked around, I'm looking around. No, not this one. And then anyways, after he left, it clicked at some point and I realized, oh my gosh, I just never heard that term before. Heater and air conditioner, that's what I'm familiar with where I grew up. I wasn't familiar with that term. And of course I was thinking central vac. So that's why I was looking around like the baseboards for those plugs and whatnot. Anyway, so you're going to make some mistakes. And so these other two top producing agents and myself, we kept noticing agents are getting in, they're making mistakes. Our brokers are fantastic, but they can only coach one-on-one so much, especially let's say an office has 30, 40, 50 agents. There's 1 to 2 brokers and they'll teach classes. And I mean, let's be honest, do the agents even attend all of the classes? And I know for me, I learned the best when I actually needed it. It's really hard for me to learn a concept months or maybe years before I need to understand it. It's in the trenches is where it clicks and it makes sense that, that's what that means. So you really need, I think, as a newer agent, someone who can hold your hand just a little bit and guide you side by side through that process. So as a 3 top producing agents, we decided let's form this team to give back, to mentor, and to train newer realtors. So that's where we're at now. And we've got just a handful of agents that are either up and coming or, whatever we want to call them. They're great realtors, great agents, and they're going to build great businesses, but they're still at a point where they're not yet completely like on their own, and then of course to a new realtor, like I just actually got the phone call after speaking and on my way here to do this from my newest team member that she just passed her test. So we're super excited for her because we're going to be able to hold her hand and guide her through. Absolutely. Here's what I wish someone would have told me, you know what I mean? And be right there with her. She can come to appointments with me. If she wants to, I'll go to appointments with her just to help her. And it's also going to cut down the time it takes to learn this business. Absolutely. Imagine if you had a top producing agent who's already been there, done that, and they're just feeding you and just fueling you. You know what I mean?
And sometimes it can almost feel like, sucking out of a fire hose at times when that happens. And I mean, with your experience of coming into a market where you absolutely knew, not a soul pretty much, having that reflection again to come back and start something like that just to give back and try to help other people. I think that's where I get the most inspiration with our industry. And I try to do that even here within our own brokerages. What are your challenges that you're facing? Let me come up with something that makes it easier. And that is incredible to, like you said, to kind of shorten that time frame. I'm just curious though, what mentoring and educating other agents, was that something that you always wanted to do, or did you realize that as you were kind of building your business?
So educating and helping others has always been who I am. I mean, always. I actually used to be a football coach and a teacher. I spent 3 years as the 7th grade head football coach at a junior high in Arkansas. So I think it's in my blood. It's who I am. But as I got into real estate, I never dreamed I could be coaching and mentoring other agents. I never dreamed I'd be speaking at regional, national, and even next year an international conference. Never dreamed. But I am so thankful for all those opportunities. I mean, I love doing this side of things as well.
Yeah. What have you found yourself facing any challenges at all? I mean, I'm sure it's not all been easy.
Right. Oh, I mean, there's challenges every day in this business. And one thing is you have to stay on top of the latest trends. I mean, the market shifts, it changes. It's not the same information I said 4 years ago isn't being said today. And, one of the challenges directly with our buyer, seller, consumers is they might have someone else in their ear, maybe a parent or an aunt or someone of that nature that might be feeding them their experience from 3 years ago, from 18 years ago. That's not the market we're in today. Today, this is what's happening. So that's a challenge. As far as my personal business, it's my passion, my love is sharing and equipping, other agents. So getting to be here today, getting to travel a little bit, but also having to manage a business back home because that's still the bread and butter. That's what's paying the bills. This, though, is what gives me, just kind of a refreshed, fuel or whatever.
Right. And that totally makes sense. When you're talking or communicating with new agents, about building their business or maybe community involvement or maybe client care, just any of our subjects that we deal with on a daily basis. What is kind of just some quick advice that you're giving them? Is it more about confidence and them specific, or is it more market specific advice?
What advice would I be giving to a newer realtor?
Yeah,
essentially.
Yeah, or agents that you're working with currently that you're kind of mentoring.
I see.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, you already hit one of the biggest things is have confidence. I believe there is something to the phrase "fake it till you make it." Now, I mentioned a story earlier where I was asked about foreclosures, and I didn't know that I was lying, but I told them the wrong answer, and I immediately addressed it. I called my broker, got the correct information. I contacted that buyer, kind of revisited that discussion and tried to fix my mistake. But I do think to a newer realtor, you've got to speak with confidence. One time, I think I shared this last time I was here, back when I was working in the Christian music industry, there was actually a festival that had about 20,000 people, an outdoor, humongous music festival. And I was there not by any association with that specific event, but I was there to promote an upcoming event that I worked for. Okay. It was a couple of weeks later in the same area. And the individual that I was with showed up with a golf cart. Oh. Outdoor music festival. He brings a golf cart. We drove right through security up to the catering tent, and we are now shaking hands. And of course, once we got in there, we knew some people, but we're shaking hands and basically hanging out with the producers of that event, the headlining artists. Wow. We drove right past security. They didn't stop us. Why? Because we showed up with a golf cart and we acted like we owned the place.
That's awesome.
Now, I don't necessarily recommend that strategy. You might end up in jail, but we acted like we belonged. So I think some of this as a newer realtor, you need to act like you belong there, and you need to speak with confidence, and you need to confirm that what you said was accurate and true and follow back up on those conversations. But absolutely be confident in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And get a mentor. That's the other piece of advice. Please get a mentor. And when you are getting a mentor, choose wisely. I want to be very careful with this. This is really, really important. Do not go for an agent who has just been in the business an X amount of years, 7 years, 15 years, 25 years. Number of years in this business is irrelevant.
I would agree with that.
What matters is number of closed transactions in the last 12 months. So if you want to build a business that does 30, 40, 60, 80, 100 transactions in a year, why are you hanging out or learning from the realtor that does 12? Get away from them. be polite and respectful and all that. I'm just saying that's not who you want to, you don't want to pick their brain, right? You want to go pick the brain and be mentored by the agent who's crushing it and who's a top agent. So choose wisely who you learn from. Oh, you know the phrase, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's exactly what that is with mentorship. So choose wisely.
Well, and also just the ability to treat it like an interview, not only for kind of them to come in and mentor you, but for you to make sure that it's that win-win relationship, making sure that it works. And I think that that's awesome. So I kind of am excited about this next part, again, switching gears a little bit, but I brought Jason in to kind of co-host with me, but you just did your second presentation here at the lake and for our market. What are some key takeaways from your presentation that you kind of wanted to share? And then I wanted to get Jason's kind of key takeaways and see if they were similar. So
I focused today on listing presentations and then how to convert a lead. So how to just crush the listing appointment, how to convert online leads, and then how to be more successful at open houses. And
I was a little bummed when you said that you called it Pitch Perfect, and I was a little bummed when you were like, it's not like the movies, I'm not going to go a cappella. I was like,
I do love those movies. Yeah, but no, it has nothing to do with that. I just think you have to have your pitch and why someone should choose you as an agent. Keep in mind, when I moved to Tulsa in 2015, I didn't know anybody. And so I was always working with strangers. And so my whole concept has been, I want to convert a stranger into a client. And then, of course, that client into a raving fan. But it really starts with converting the stranger. So I feel like the biggest takeaway is I had to learn how to sell myself before I could even sell a house. I really had to convince that person I'm the right guy for the job because they don't know me. So how do I impress them, but without just patting myself on the back and, I'm awesome? It's not that. You have to have the words, have the topics. And so I mentioned a minute ago, conversations lead to conversions. The more education and the more just value you can provide, I think the more likely you're going to convert.
Yeah. Hey, James, we cannot thank you enough for coming again today. This is the third time I've actually got to hear you speak, and every time I'm just blown away. We were pumped to get you in front of our agents because every time you do, I think I had literally nine pages of notes, and just cannot wait to share that with our agents. But obviously, there's tons of things that we could be talking about, but there were some real key things that stuck out to me. It doesn't take long as the audience can hear that James is really likable. He's authentic. He's humble. He's really funny and witty. You can't see him, but he's good looking. But the reality is that all those things, he does great things with video, but all those things really aren't why he's successful. Why James is successful is because that he's fearless and he's relational. He doesn't make it about the transaction. He makes it about the person. He truly cares about each and every one of his clients. He finds out their why. He looks at it not as a transaction, but he looks at it as a person and somebody, like he said, turning him into a raving fan. But at the end of the day, he's fearless. It's like the old cliche of Nike, just do it. The reality is that James does it. And so if you're looking for a home in Tulsa, you would be foolish not to call James, because I'm telling you, if I move to Tulsa, I'm calling James, because he is hands down one of the most fantastic realtors I've ever been around. But what you brought today was a totally different presentation than what you brought 2 years ago when you came down, and totally different than what you brought to Tech and Touch. And so,
thank you.
You haven't been in the business that long, but it's fantastic.
Thank you. That means the world. Thank you.
Thank you again for coming.
Yeah. And I think that that's kind of a good key point too. Is found myself, and it's probably because I've seen you like Jason. I think Jason and I probably saw you every time together too.
That's cool.
So
Yeah.
one of the things that I kept thinking watching you today was, gosh, he hasn't been doing this very long. And it's just incredible, like all the things that you can think about or generate ideas from other agents or just implement in general. It's mega impressive.
Thank you.
Just a couple other questions. I'm just curious, have you noticed some differences between our market and your market?
So definitely the first, I even asked the question today, like, what's your average sales, your price point? And you guys are definitely higher by almost $100,000 from my market, and just driving here, even yesterday, I was commenting on there's a lot of hills. There's a lot of, kind of that terrain here. Like in Oklahoma, it is flat.
Yeah. It's like Kansas.
Yes, I am probably a solid 20 miles from our downtown Tulsa. And from where I live, I can see our skyline. Mm-hmm. Now, it's in the distance, but I can see it. Here, I can't see like 2 blocks because it is a mountain. So it just looks very, very different.
Yeah, I can see that, the looks, and I'm just curious because that's one thing that I didn't realize when I got into real estate, even though I'm not personally an agent, but just learning and picking up things as you go is how different each market is. So I was just curious about your take on it.
Yeah, I mean, earlier I was listening to conversations of people talking about docs or doc slips or I don't know something.
Doc envelopes.
Yeah, I have no clue what that is because in Tulsa we don't have that. It's standard subdivisions. We're not surrounded by water everywhere. So yeah, there's going to definitely be terminology that's very different.
Well, I'm definitely going to have Jason quickly explain doc envelopes.
Oh gosh, we're going to get into docs. We could spend a whole 45 minutes with all the different little ins and outs of each market. Just like we have doc envelopes, which is just the size of doc that can specifically fit on a certain lot. And you would think it was the same. You'd think if a 100-foot lot was a 100-foot lot, you could fit the same boat in. But the reality is that it's not. There's a lot of things that play into that. How the lots continue into the water at the angle that they do, and we have Ameren permits and dock electric. There's lots of different things. But the reality is that Tulsa has lots of different nuances, if you will.
Right.
That's why one of the reasons why it's so important to find somebody who's a local expert, because at the end of the day, just because homes are, here everybody talks about how easy it is to sell condos, but the reality is some of the condos, different buildings, they look like the same unit, but one in a different building may bring $30,000 or $40,000 more because of the view or because of where the dock location is. And in Tulsa, my point is that each individual location has little nuances like that. So it's super important to make sure that you find out a local expert.
Right. We basically don't even have condos in Tulsa. I mean, we technically have some condos. Very, very few of, I could probably count on one hand how many condos have sold.
Yeah, they're basically a third of our market. We've got basically third lakefront homes, a third condos, and a third off-water homes. So they're a big part of our business.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, totally different.
Thanks, Jason, for explaining that real quick. Again, we love to learn. So now, but as we start wrapping up the show, I just kind of want to get some more of your advice on a couple things. What advice would you give to individuals who may be interested in real estate, but are kind of maybe too reluctant to start?
So I'm going to give a brutally honest answer. If you are reluctant to start, don't. This industry, this business isn't for you if you're too nervous or worried about getting into it. You have to get to a place mentally where you are all in. Now, once you are mentally there, put all the chips on red. You know what I mean? Like, go.
Jump in with both feet.
That's right. There's no plan B. But if you're kind of wishy-washy or I'm not sure, or going to do it part-time, or I do not recommend this business. We hear of a lot of people, school teachers even, and I love school teachers. I married one, okay? Love them. But I hear of school teachers who want to sell houses in the summertime. It seems fun, or I like looking at houses. No. That is not what this business is. It's I call it the trenches. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're going to be a successful agent, get ready for some hurdles and obstacles. And now, by the way, I'm not speaking negatively. I love it. Mm-hmm. I love what I do, and it's very rewarding financially. But it's not for the faint of heart.
Mm-hmm. James, I'm so glad you said that, because that's exactly what we tell any new recruit that comes in here. Anybody who's quotes, thinking about real estate, you don't try real estate, or real estate's going to try you. You've got to have that. There is no plan B. We tell them you got to burn the ships.
Yes.
You know, because if there's a plan B, you're going to go back to it.
Yep.
I think I had every single one of the ladies in my office at some point during their first year in my office crying because, you know, they thought they were doing something right or doing something wrong. And it's just like, nope, it's just hard. If you'll continue to do the little things right, we know what you're doing. Just continue down this path. You're going to do it. You're going to crush it. And that's what they've done. But the reality is it's not an easy business.
It's really not. Everybody, you know, they watch TV, and on TV it's made to look a certain way. And in Tulsa, it's nothing like any of the shows I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. It's not glamorous. It's not always luxury, high-end stuff. Sometimes it's dumps, and sometimes it's buyers that shouldn't have been pre-approved by a lender. And there's just so much to it. And just when you think you've got it pretty figured out, something new will happen.
Oh, yeah.
That you never saw coming. And it's just another day of real estate.
Yep, another day. Let's transition to kind of our other audience members, you know, our clients, especially with today's market. What's kind of some advice that you would give to new clients regarding real estate today?
Yeah. So my first thought, if you're a client, you're looking to buy or sell property, the first thing you really want to do is you want to interview real estate agents. I recommend that you interview 2 or 3, and you need to make sure that the agent you're choosing, going back to number of years in the business, is irrelevant. Mm-hmm. It needs to be, what is their productivity in the last 12 months? That's what matters in this business. Mm-hmm. Someone who has a great deal of experience from 5 or 10 years ago doesn't matter, different market. So make sure that you're interviewing your real estate agents and that you are choosing wisely a top producing professional. That's my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah, I love that advice too. And again, creating that win-win relationship, making sure that it's somebody who's going to care about your needs, mm-hmm. you know, service, listen, you know, all of those things that you even talked about in your presentation today.
And speaking of listening, it goes both ways. Mm-hmm. Please also listen to your agent. If you do interview 1, 2, well, not just 1, hopefully you interview 2 or 3 realtors, and hopefully you choose wisely and it's that top producing agent. Listen to them. You know, keep in mind, I had a client recently that we had a disagreement and I basically got fired. But their perspective was based on the 2 homes they had purchased.
Oh, yeah.
I did more than that last weekend. Right? Mm-hmm. Not bragging. It's not, ooh, I'm awesome. But their perspective is 1 inch, where my perspective is 10 miles. Yeah. I've seen so much more than they have. They couldn't wrap their head around, no, that's not really how this works. Mm-hmm. Your 2 houses don't equate to the same thing here in this situation. So I would just encourage someone listening, when you pick the right agent, listen to them too. It goes both ways.
Yeah, that's great advice. I love that. Okay, so last question, and I love asking this question. I'm getting so many great responses and different input, which is why I keep it going. But it's a 3-parter, but it has a lot of value. So first one, what area of your life and or your business would you like to grow more in?
Yeah, so definitely with my business, it's speaking. I love what I got to do today. You met me in 2018 at Tech and Touch, and the international conference just a few months ago that I got to do in Las Vegas. Again, I know I mentioned this, but being invited to speak in Brazil, that is my passion. Whether it's 20 agents or 1,000, I love it. And that's what I want to do more of.
Yeah, I love that too. I hope to go experience R4 and other things like that myself, even because I always pull myself, something myself away. And I'm, again, not an agent, but if I'm getting so much value, I can only imagine what would be going through an agent's mind watching you speak or any of those presenters. So next one, in what area, personal or business, are you thriving in right now?
I would say consistency. I mean, that is I think that's a big area where realtors are not consistent in certain things. We might try to pick and choose too many, like the shiny penny. Ooh, I can get distracted and I can go over here. Oh, maybe I go try this. No. Sometimes you need to stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to realize, for instance, I am a more city, residential real estate agent, someone who wants to pull me outside of my area of expertise or out and do farm and ranch or things that are not my expertise. No. And that wasn't easy to learn years ago because you're still kind of chasing a paycheck too, right? You got to make a living. But I think it's better to stay in your lane, in your area of expertise, what you're most comfortable with. And I think that's where you're going to produce your best results too.
I agree. And, we talk about that a lot, especially in our organization here. I mean, I can't tell you how many times Jason and I, or even Jeff, have had the conversation with our agents where it's like, if you're not so confident with social media, don't feel like you have to do that. Pick and choose one or two things that you think you're good at, that is your strength, and go with it. And I think that that's awesome. Last one, what inspires you?
So this was actually the hardest question I think you've asked me.
I think it's funny because everybody says that. It's the hardest one.
I've really put some thought into this question, and I don't like my answer. But what inspires me? So the first, it's kind of a two-part answer, I guess. In one way, I got really, really lucky, and I got asked to be part of an elite group of real estate agents who were doing really well at video. There's a really large Facebook community called RETV. Stands for real estate, right? TV, so real estate videos, and several thousand members. And somehow I got selected to be one of the 20 that went to a private retreat, and I got to mastermind for an entire weekend at Gulf Shores last November. And yes, great area, beautiful beach house. It was amazing. So much fun, but I also made some great connections there. And the realtors that I've become really good friends with, all from that one weekend, and they inspire me. They are doing some amazing things. They're on a whole nother level. Like, I'm not even anywhere near, like, I truly felt like I don't belong here. Like, these guys are killing it. Like, I'm okay at video, but no, they are next level stuff. And so getting to be surrounded by them, and they really have pushed me to buy better equipment, to do more video, to just try to up my game. I thought I was doing good, but I can do better, right? Best agent ever. I can be better than this. So that's part of it. But then also, as we've kind of already hit on, mentoring other realtors, speaking, and just seeing other agents get it. It inspires me because you can just tell that they're excited, and that when they love what you're saying, when you get those laughs, when you get those claps, when you just see the light bulb glow, you see it go off. Oh, that's rewarding for me.
And that would, like I said earlier, that's probably where I love my job the most, is being able to inspire them to go out. Even if it's just to call me and get on that listing channel, get pumped up before you walk in somewhere or something. Like, I'm your girl, call whatever you need. Like, it's awesome. Well, Grow, Thrive, Inspire listeners, we are so lucky to have James on our show today. We hope that you all found some inspiration from his story and his experience. We have more episodes coming, so be sure to tune back in on Wednesdays and like and subscribe to our pages for the latest updates. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. Be sure to also check out our open houses coming up. Open houses are posted on Thursdays for the upcoming weekend on our Facebook page. We have seen lots of visitors here and hope to continue to help our clients find the homes of their dreams. And remember to always grow, thrive, and inspire. See you soon.